my lovelies, today I'm going to be talking you through the 5 books that I bought in March. I have already made 2 book purchases in April, but I am putting myself on a book buying ban until all my summer term deadlines are over in week 8. Since it is week 1 of term when I am filming this, that means I'm book buying ban for 7 weeks. I have got plenty of books to read with me on my shelves for my summer term, and if I get truly desperate for a certain book, I am now part of the city libraries, so I can take it out from the city library if I get desperate for a certain book. I will also be having to buy book bundles for my autumn term modules, probably at the end of the term, which will take a good chunk out of my budget, and also be quite a few books for the 2 different modules that I'm going to be studying in autumn. I bought these 5 books in 2 separate purchases. The first 2 books I bought physically out of Waterstones York, once again, and the other 3 books I bought online from Waterstones. The first 2 books I bought are actually really planned out for once instead of impulse buys. I'd gone into Waterstones a couple of times and spotted that these 2 were there, and I made a mental note that I will be coming back for them at some point. And that some point ended up being when my mum picked me up for my spring break to take me home, and she wanted to go to Waterstones to find the new paperback cover of a Kate Moss book that she's been after for ages. And so I've been making a mental note of books I wanted to buy when she does her buying so I could get her points on my Waterstones card. These 2 books were Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer and Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. The reason I wanted A Curse So Dark and Lonely is because I'd recently finished The Wicked King by Holly Black and Queen of Shadows by Sarah J Maas, and was on such a high fantasy book high at the moment that I wanted to build up more of a fantasy collection. And this is a book that, when I was talking to one of my flatmates, recommended, and then also Fairy Loot were hyping up this book because they were doing a readathon over my spring break. So my original intention was to do the readathon, but of course if you saw my March reads video you'd know that I ended up working at the pool lifeguarding nearly every day of my spring break, so I didn't get to do much reading, and I definitely couldn't read this in the time space that the readathon required. The book is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and is much like A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I've got high hopes for it. It is about Prince Ren, who is forced to relive the autumn of his 18th year over and over again until he can find someone that truly falls in love with him. And this is when Harper, who is actually a girl from the streets of Washington DC, gets sucked into the world of Emberfall. And I'm hoping that this is going to play out really nicely and similar to A Court of Thorns and Roses. The next book I bought was Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. The reason I wanted this book is because it's more of a mystery, and I've been trying to expand the books I have on my shelf because I have a lot of high fantasy books that are all very series based, and this one took my fancy when Emma Books wrote about it so many times on her channel. I don't normally go for mysteries, and I also find it hard to find contemporary books that are really going to suck me in to read them. I don't really like the look or the blurbs of many contemporary books. I find that there are some that I've enjoyed when I've got into them, but I don't feel the pull to read them immediately like I do with fantasy books. The mystery to this book is the fact that the founder's wife and daughter were kidnapped when the Academy of Ellingham first began, and the only clue was a riddle left by a pseudonym signed Truly Devious. So when Stevie Bell attends the Academy many years later, she's determined to solve the cold case, and the pseudonym of Truly Devious seems to rise again. I just love things that are set in flashbacks that connect the past to the present, so I was hoping that this book will have a lot of that, from what I can tell from Emma Book's recommendation, and it's just a way to get me into mysteries a bit more. The next 3 books I bought online because I needed to pick one of 3 novels to read as background reading for my archiving module, and I went with, as I was just saying I don't like mysteries, with the thriller mystery. This is The Night Visitor by Lucy Atkins. The Night Visitor follows the story of Olivia Sweetman, who is writing a book based on this diary she found by Annabelle, and to help her she has this character of Vivian, who is said to be the keeper of the diary and does all the archival and history work and researching work that goes into the book. However, Vivian, who is doing the researching, has some dark secrets that start to unravel, and it follows how this affects the writing of the book, and it's very manipulative at times. And this one I have actually read is the only one of the book haul so far that I have read, and I really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised by how much the secrets surrounding both people sucked you in. So this is really good. While I was looking around Waterstones to find The Night Visitor by Lucy Atkins, I thought I'd just check to see whether Four Dead Queens by Astrid Skolt, I think I'm saying that right, has come out yet. This is a book that I've been seeing Penguin Teen hype up for about a month, and I've been really interested in it. So it's one of the books that I've had in my head that I was going to buy when it was released. It is about a queendom that is split into quadrants with a different queen ruling each quadrant, and each quadrant valuing different talents and functions. It is about 17-year-old Corally, which I hope I'm saying right, who is a thief in one of the quadrants and happens to steal the wrong package that ends her up in a conspiracy to kill all the four queens. I'm just really interested to see how the dynamics of this queendom plays about, especially with there being four queens ruling at the same time in this area that is one together as Quadara but is also split into four at the same time. And it's also a fantasy standalone, and I've been trying to build up more fantasy standalones because I love fantasy, but there's a lot, which means you have to dedicate your time to a series, and this one's definitely a standalone. And Penguin Teen, you better live up to the hype. The last book I bought while I was shopping online was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This follows the story of the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland when she was just a girl. The reason I wanted this book is because I've been trying to get into Marissa Meyer, but I don't want to dedicate myself to something like the Lunar Chronicles at the moment, because again, I've been saying I want more standalone fantasy books, and this one is a standalone fantasy, and I'm just really intrigued at how the Queen of Hearts came to be. And it's a gorgeous cover, and it's going to help me get into the world of Marissa Meyer. So those were the 5 books that I bought in March. You won't be seeing another book haul for quite a while because I am putting myself on a book buying ban, but pretty much all of these, apart from Heartless, which I saw and had to get because it was a standalone Marissa Meyer and it would help me get into Marissa Meyer books. But all the other 4 books were all pre-planned by anyway. There wasn't much impulse buying in this one like there was in my February book haul. So I think I'm getting better at restraining myself from buying books. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.